Welcome back to Proper Madness. I'm happy to have you back if you're a returning listener. If you're a new listener, my name is Sabi, and I have a very unique perspective on mental health. I believe wholeheartedly that we can turn anything that we have been through and alchemize it into bettering ourselves mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. It helps you feel less alone, to know and understand that the way out is always through the eye of the storm. Grab a cup of tea. If you're not a tea drinker, grab your coffee, and let's sit down and tune into ourselves so that we can learn to connect to other people. We never know the weight of our words and how they might help someone. Welcome back, everyone, to Proper Madness. Today, I'm very excited to sit down with Ranela because we've kind of been following each other for a while. And up until recently, I fangirled very hard, and I was like, wait, we've been following each other for the whole time. And she's such a wonderful person. She's been in mostly the mental wellness space. I don't know how things have changed now, but I would love for you to tell people like what you're about. And
So thank you so much for having me. I'm about me. Oh my goodness, what I'm about. I'm about so many things because that's just how my brain works. And okay, so I had a whole life before the life that people see now
yeah,
on Instagram. And my life in the past was more so religiously focused and focused on my faith. And that that was so good for me in some ways. And in other ways, I just really had to deconstruct and outgrow. And through that process, I kind of came to a point where I had like a whole identity shift.
mm,
And that's kind of what I talk about now. But that happened like 8 years ago, and I ended up going in back to school to be a therapist.
mm,
And so I'm a marriage and family therapist, and I've worked with women's trauma. I've worked with men's substance abuse recovery, and a few other, a lot of like individual counseling. And at the same time, I decided to start a coaching program. I, learned how to be a coach. I just wanted to start sharing with people just the journey that I had been on and everything that I'd been learning, because it was just so freeing to know how to navigate this mental space.
yes,
So that's what I've been doing for the last several years. And so much of my journey has been just discovering and rediscovering. And so I come from a lot of different backgrounds, and I kind of live in between worlds. So my mom is from the Philippines
mm,
and my dad's from India. And we grew up in like very white Midwest, and then like came to California, Santa Cruz when I was 11. So just a lot of different backgrounds. And so much of that sometimes it becomes hard to kind of know who you are
mm,
in the midst of all of those things, because you kind of feel in between. And so it's just been really fun in my 30s getting to rewrite like on a blank slate, like who I just want to be, and like picking and choosing and owning all of it. And so last year that led me to go into acting.
mhm.
And that's just been really fun. Things picked up there. So that's kind of where I am now. Is I do coaching and therapy. I also do acting. I just submitted an audition today. And I started a podcast last month. So, here we are.
I love it so much. Oh my gosh. Like it's such a cool transformation for sure of like how you got to where you are now. And I mean, we're
Hmm.
always still transforming, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I love that. I love that identity shift. What was the moment for you where you felt like was there a thought or an experience that made you go, "Oh, it's time for me to reclaim my identity?"
Yes. I think it was a series of like a thousand cuts that, not to be, yeah, that sounds terrible. But like there was just so many things building up to about 8 years ago. I would say the thing that kind of broke me was I was so disconnected from myself. Like I imagined myself being 10,000 miles away from my authentic self.
Mm,
And it was just this like this race. I was like running the opposite direction, trying to get away from, I didn't even know who I was, but I was just running, and I
mm,
was just running in the opposite direction. Or how they talk about like you're climbing up this ladder and you realize it's not leaning on the right house. And so that was for me around 27 years old. And I was in a relationship where like the guy was nice and he was like a sweet guy, but like I was like, I don't see myself with this person long term
Mm.
for these reasons. And at the same time, I was trying to go into nursing, which now looking back at myself, I'm not good at keeping people alive. It requires so many details. Like I remember just because the way my brain works, we'd be like Z tracking and like doing the shots and like you have to like check all there's so many checks and my brain just doesn't work that way. And anyway, long story short, I'm Indian, so I'm like good at academics, so I thought I could do it.
I have so much to say about that. I'm not. I'm
Okay,
the Indian that didn't do it. I'm the
good for
Indian.
you. You're the entrepreneur.
Yeah. Sorry, continue.
Oh, no, I want to hear more about that.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so I was doing nursing and looking around being like, wow, these people in my class, I was like, these people actually like this. Are we supposed to like this? I was just very unhappy with pretty much every major area of my life. And then on top of that, I did not have the tools to know how to navigate life transitions, and when you get to a dark place in life where you don't know where to go and you're so lost and confused and you have no idea who the heck you are.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have that skill or those tools. So all of that combined, I actually like landed in the ER
Mm.
one day, and I basically couldn't, like, my whole neck and shoulders like was just seized up, and I couldn't breathe. Like I was having a panic attack, and I remember being there at like 3 a.m. being like, something's got to give, and I need to change things ASAP. So that's how it all began.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It doesn't surprise me, but like that bottom that you have
Mm,
to hit to like wake up to go, hey, I'm not living in alignment in any way in my life. And I totally
yeah,
resonate with like everything you shared too, because it's like we try and we want to do all these things to make people happy around us, and then we lose ourselves, right?
right, right.
So, as you were saying that, I was like, yeah, I totally relate 100%. Like I get that when you are in the wrong relationship, no matter how wonderful someone is, or you're in a job where you're like, this is not where I belong. And I get that. I so get that. Um, I know you were always a family. Were you always studying to be like in marriage family counseling? Yes. And then nursing
Um,
was like, let me see.
Yeah, so the MFT program that was in 2021. So before
Okay,
that, I
got it.
had done like bachelor's degree in business and
Yeah.
stuff. But I knew that my master's, I was like, I want my master's to be something that I can really like get into and
Yeah.
really enjoy and use like for the rest of my life. So I tried like I was interested in like 5 different master's programs in totally different areas. Like, this is how much it's the journey of getting to know
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
You just
But
try a million things and then you're like, oh, well, no, that's not it. That's not it.
But most people don't even try. They just like stick to
Hmm.
one thing and then force themselves to stay in it because we live in a world of like hustle culture and you have to not give up on things. It's like, yeah, but like I love that you're even pursuing acting too because it's awesome. Like it's so multi-dimensional. Like you're allowing yourself to pursue things that you actually want to do. And that takes
Yeah.
courage. Like not a lot of people do that. Honestly, they really don't.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I think I have just always felt that I wanted to at least have a sense of like I'm in my lanes
Mm.
and I like them. And up until, the last 5 years, when I was in the religious world, there was so much that was just handed to me that in that season of my life, I really loved because I was working with friends, and there was like this big mission that you have, and there's all this that's sort of fabricated, and not to say that it was all terrible, but it was when I left that world, I didn't know what it was like to be in the real world. And
Yeah.
so having to reconstruct all of that, I was like, I look around and people seem to generally like, there's some people that like really like what they do or they're happy with life. And I think in my mind, I thought, I'm not going to stop until I feel that I'm in my lanes and I'm enjoying them. And I don't feel like I have to like escape my life. I just don't want to live life that way because I only
Yeah.
have one. So that's the thing that has like driven me to be like, is there something in my life that I would like to tweak or something that I'd like to self discover that might add a little joy?
Mhm.
And I've kind of always prioritized that for whatever reason. So I'm very grateful because obviously it has led me
Yeah, I was
to
about to
know
ask you
more.
too. I was like, huh, like, because most people don't even know where that drive comes from. But I was gonna ask, like, where do you think it comes from? But, um, I think that's awesome though. Like, I think that sets you apart from so many people that,
Mm.
again, like, don't have that drive and capability to be like, how do I do that? If you were to pinpoint like how it came about or like why you have that, could you verbalize it or totally not? You're gonna be like, I have no idea.
No, that's like such a good question because I think it's maybe a little bit more nebulous and existential. One of the things is that I do have parents who are so supportive of like whatever I want to do. Like my dad, he's the Indian and he was never very traditional. He was like the youngest of five kids and he was the
Mhm.
only boy. So he got to do whatever, he wanted to do. There was no pressure on him. So he kind of like grew up with a lot of that like love and nurture and just like, hey, what makes you happy?
Mm,
And I just want you to be happy. And so that is like having that. I feel like I'm very privileged in that way to have parents who were like very supportive of whatever I wanted to try and do. And then if there were times, it is a privilege to know that you have something to fall back on if things don't work out.
yeah.
Because I have always, been able to like, oh, if something doesn't work out, I'm going to go home and live with my mom or,
Yeah.
those types of things. And I do have to say that because I do think some people don't have those opportunities. And sometimes it's tough when you have like a family environment where you're not supported to make those decisions. Like maybe there's a strong expectation
Mm,
about what career you need to do, or like you need to continue the family traditions, or ideas about like if you don't go into this field, then there's all these fears about like what might happen in the future.
mm,
And so if I had to pinpoint something, I would say it's like my family culture
hmm.
that has given me that permission. And um, I'm an Aries too.
Yeah,
So
same.
are
Same.
you an
Yeah.
Aries? Well, look at us. We're matching too in our
I know, I love
black
it. We're both wearing gold. We're both wearing
of
black.
gold always.
I can't be, listen, I can wear silver if I'm very pale. Like I'm already pale for an Indian person, but I
That is so funny. I love it. Yeah. So
love it
that it
so
just
much.
got that fiery spirit too.
Yeah.
And that exemplifies in different ways. But I think for me, it's just like, I don't know. I have this inner drive, and in the past, I think it might have been more unhealthy. And now I think I've just accepted it more. Like there's always this inner drive to prove to myself
Mm.
that I can do more. And so I don't know, maybe I would pinpoint it to like those things.
I love that though. At least like thank you for for giving an answer because I know like sometimes when we're asked questions like that, it's hard to like go, okay, well hang on, let me dive deep into the whole lore of my life and figure that out. But
Oh
yeah.
my God. I have like, like about 30 journals from the age of like 13. So
Oh.
I am an expert in the details and the lore of my life. I've thought about it a lot
I
in
think
dark
about it all the
rooms.
time. I understand the dark room. I get it. I get it.
By the way, I love your lighting.
Oh,
Your
thank you
your
so
lighting is really
much.
good right now. Yeah, you got
Thank
that
you.
backlight on the side.
It's honestly,
Yeah.
people ask me that all the time. Like, it's because I studied film. That's the only reason why.
Oh
So
my
that's why I know
goodness.
how
We
to
need to
do
talk.
this. Yeah, that's what I do now, which a lot's changed
I
since we
want to
connected. Yeah.
know. I'm so sorry. I know this is like you're
No,
interviewing me, but I would love to know like
people can
where
know. It's a
you,
conversation. Yeah.
yeah, like what are you doing in your life right now and how does like the podcast fit into it and just
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. So the podcast has been around for many moons.
Oh, that's
We've been
awesome.
here for a long time. So I called it. was it maybe 5 years ago? It was called Beautifully Broken. And it was
Mm.
about mental wellness and mental health because I suffered with PTSD and addiction for most of my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I didn't know I had PTSD, and that
Mm.
addiction was just a symptom of what was going on. And so
Wow.
I mention this often, but it's a really cool place called Onsite in Nashville, Tennessee. Um, and
Mm.
there I got help like right before COVID happened, so like 2019. Um, and then 6 months later, COVID happened and the world shut down.
So
Um,
you on site was like a kind of a recovery type of thing?
Recovery, but
Okay.
also a lot of group therapy and a lot of
Love.
trauma-informed therapy that helped me
Nice.
understand like family systems, identity, all the core
Mm.
beliefs around like why I had all this depression, anxiety, PTSD. They diagnosed me there with PTSD. I didn't know
Mm.
I had it. My whole life, I thought it was just like severe depression, and anxiety. And they're going, no, let's look at the trauma you've been through in your life, and
Mm.
that's what's going on. So when I left there, I was there for 2 weeks. I came back and I was a completely different person. And then I started my podcast, Beautifully Broken, just to help people with
Yes.
because I had learned so much. Went, oh my gosh, like at that point, like back in 2019, mental health was so stigmatized still, and people
Hmm.
didn't understand it that I was like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. And then over the course of some years, I started healing. I started getting
Mm.
better, and I went, wait a second. And I became a mental wellness coach for a little bit. I think that's when I
Wow.
started following you. I was like, oh, someone who's doing the same thing as me. Um, and something happened where like I had hired on like a social media marketing person to help me grow my following and get clients for coaching. I had like two or
Mm.
three clients. I got very successful very quick. My account blew up very fast. Like when I think I
Wow.
was following you, I had about 30,000 followers, but I
Mm.
was doing something that I didn't really enjoy. I was just
Huh.
trying to do something to be relevant and to be popular and to make money, not necessarily do something I liked.
Mm.
Because when I started taking on clients, I enjoyed it, but not a lot. I was like, I don't think this is for me.
Yeah.
Kind of similar to what you were saying with the nursing. You were like, wow, people really like being here. It was the same thing. I'd have a client and I was like,
Yeah, I'm
um,
not enjoying this as much as I thought I
yeah,
would.
I was like, I can listen to people's stuff all day, but for me, it just didn't feel right. Like there was an alignment
Yeah.
there. Um, and then from there, I took a 2 year break from social media, lost a good chunk of followers.
Mm.
Um, and then came back about a year ago, actually. And
Wow.
just like somehow, I don't know how to explain it, but like I had always studied film, creative writing, and then I studied a little bit of forensic psychology when I was younger.
Mm.
And so I had all this creative energy. People kept telling me over and over again, they're like, you need to do a creative career. I was like, well, I want to be a creative director, but I got a zero experience. I was working in semiconductors for 11 years, for my 9 to 5 in sales and operations.
Oh.
So I had all the business knowledge. I just was
Hmm.
not doing anything creative. So now
Hmm.
I'm back in the standpoint of like being a creative director. I started my own creative studio, which is awesome. So I
That is
do,
awesome.
yeah, so I love it. And the podcast is still around because I still love interviewing people and getting to know their story and what they've been through to get to where they are today. Because that's what helped me, right? Like
Mm.
it stopped being like mental health focus and more just I love people's stories and I love storytelling and I love connecting to people. And
Mm.
there's always something so inspiring in someone's story for someone else. So it's just my
Yeah.
way to be of service to people and like help other people with other
I love
people.
that.
So yeah.
That's so great. I feel like our timelines were also kind of similar because it was like before COVID. Basically, I came back to California in 2019. That was
Mm.
like once everything sort of crashed for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, like pretty much during that time is when I was healing and, sharing and everything.
Yeah.
So, and then I also kind of got burnt out
Yeah.
with all the sharing and all that stuff. And like with social media and coaching, and I kind of ended that, or not. I actually still have some of my coaching clients that I've had for a few years, but like I took a pause and then I just started going back on like a couple months ago.
Yeah. Wow. Well, we're both like, yeah, almost the exact same timing. That's pretty awesome. I
I
love
love
that.
that. But I love your story. And I think
Thank you.
it's so beautiful, like all the things that you went through, and you're always able to help people, but then also discovering for yourself, like what
Yeah.
aligns with me in this space and in creativity. So with your creative studio, what type of things do you do?
Oh gosh, so many things. So my whole premise is marketing as art, and I feel like,
Mm,
and the reason
we need to
behind,
talk.
I got you. And the reason behind that is because social media, and I know you're gonna feel the same way. Social media burnt me out because you
Mm,
had so many people performing and
yeah.
using social media as a form of marketing, but the way that
Yeah.
they're doing it is so disconnected that I went, no, because anytime I make my short films on my page or anything like vibey or moody or emotional, people always say that like you have your own style. I'm like,
Mm,
I do. And I didn't realize it until I started taking the photography and videography, which is what I do, and marketing more seriously. And then I hired on a whole organization, like a nonprofit. So I do like a lot of their branding and marketing for predominantly social media, but also for
yeah.
whatever else they need to tell their story. Some of the whole basis of what I do is storytelling. It's
Mm,
how do you connect to your audience or people that you want to be in your life, whether that's customers or clients, whatever, you have to tell a story.
mm.
So I do that. And then I also do like, I had such a cool, like the last 3 weeks, one of my really good childhood friends, she's a somatic equine therapist. So I went to the
Cool.
ranch with horses and I
Oh,
did
I
all her
love
content.
that.
Yeah. So I can do it for people or I teach them how to do it. So it's kind of cool. I can
Yeah.
either go shoot, but shooting takes a lot out of me. So I also now do creative mentoring, but there's identity work behind that. There's
Yes.
somatics behind that. There's spirituality. It's just wild. So
Hmm.
I'm teaching people what I learned. So that's what I
Oh,
do.
that's beautiful. I
You.
love that. And on my vision board this year is to it's just like so random, but it not random, but it's like I really want to like hang out with horses more
Oh my
this year.
God, come with me next time.
I'm like literally, I grew up like going to summer camp and doing like horsemanship, and our neighbors had horses, and like there was just something. And then I realized it was the year of the horse, and I was like, this is all lighting up. I
It
just need
is.
to. I love
It is.
horses, and I need horses
They,
in my life.
I don't know. Have you been around horses before? Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
like summer camp, I would do horsemanship. I had a neighbor who had horses. They would take us out, and they're just so relational, and they're so smart, and they're so majestic, and it is so therapeutic. And
Oh,
I'm like, I need like it just.
we can
It's a
totally.
beautiful experience.
So I experienced co-regulation with the horse,
Yeah,
with my nervous system. That was wild. I don't know if you've ever
I believe
experienced.
it. Yeah, no, like
Yeah,
literally whenever I see a horse, to me, horses, and then I found, yeah, it's just so funny. I'm so like this where I'm like, everything connects. But
same. Honestly, same.
I was like, I realized I was born in the year of the horse, and I'm like, this makes
Ugh.
sense. But like when I see a horse, I'm just like, I like, they're just such gentle giants, and I feel like they're so spiritual. Like their
Mm,
energy is very calming and like, yeah. So I totally believe in the whole equine therapy, and
mm-hmm. That was
I
beautiful.
love
I
that.
um I want to pick your brain more on the identity stuff because I've listened to a couple
Mm,
of your podcast episodes. Um, and
cool.
yeah, well, listen, I do my research. Okay. Thank
You're a great podcast
you
host.
so much. I feel like Jimmy Fallon, where people guests are like, "How the hell did you find that out?" I'm like, "I did, I did.
I investigated.
I used to study forensic psychology. What do you want from me?" Uh, no, but you had an episode where you're talking about. Accountability, I think, was
Mm,
the one, and I love that. I
mm.
love that. I want to understand more of like where that came from and why you think that's so important, especially when it comes to like identity and how you show
Mm.
up.
Yeah, I think that is accountability and taking total responsibility for your life and your emotions, I think is developmentally something that comes a little bit easier the older you get, you know. In my 30s is when I just started noticing that there were a lot of excuses that I was making.
Yeah.
And there are still areas in my life that I'm, obviously we're always actively working on it. But I think the kind of origin story of that is I'm a middle child that has like a very, very strong older sister.
Mm.
She's a Scorpio. She is like the quintessential oldest sister. She has like taken care of our family, Indian, right? Like Indian eldest daughter. She's like carried our family with her two arms her whole life and she totally has a chip on her shoulder, but she's also like done so much for the family. My parents had issues and they separated and they're not together. And when all that happened, I was 15. So long story short, I just grew up with this mother figure as my older sister. And then I had, of course, my parents. And it was just so easy to feel like, she's going to take care of things.
Mm.
And I think any sibling that's like not the eldest can kind of relate to that feeling, especially if you're like the youngest. It's
Yeah.
learned helplessness.
Mm.
And I do see that growing up. I think there was some genetic thing too, as far as my own mental health. I kind of had a proclivity towards negativity and a
Yeah.
proclivity towards helplessness. And I think of the three of us girls, I was born with a little bit more of that kind of melancholy and like
Yeah.
just kind of shame really was the emotion that would sit under my skin. And I think everyone has like this like one major emotion that is so easily accessible to them. My oldest sister is anger. She's a great person. She's actually like so hilarious and funny, but she's like everything. She's very strong. But mine was shame. My little sister's is like sadness, so like,
Yeah.
yeah, we all have these emotions. And for me, it was easy to just be like, well, I just suck. And that's how I am. And I'm not good at this and I'm not good at that. And look at I would look at my sister and I was just like, she's perfect at everything all the time. And I look at her sometimes and be like, why is she so confident? Like, she's not even like that cute or that cool like when I was a kid, right? Obviously, she's gorgeous. But like, when you're little, you're like, how did she have so much just
Mm.
zest and power in her life? And I felt like I had so little. So long story short, I feel like that followed me into every area of my life, that mentality. When I was a teenager, when I didn't know what I wanted to do for college. Of course, now looking back, I realize that there just really wasn't anything in the 9 to 5 world that I wanted to do. I was always like a creative, artistic person. But yeah, then everything started crashing down when I left the church and when I left organized religion. It was part of my healing journey and grieving process to also blame the
Mm.
religion. There was a lot of like everything is against me and other people are the issue. And then, yeah, when I got into my 30s and I started really thinking about what I wanted in my life. And I think that's what's so important about having vision and creating strong clarity and identity about who you want to be.
Yeah.
Because when you can start having that vision of this version of you that actually you're excited to wake up to, that you're proud of, that you like, then you start asking yourself, well, okay, how do I get there?
Yeah.
And if you're confronted with all these excuses about why that can't happen, well, then that's where we have like depression. It's
Mhm.
depression is hopelessness. It's like, I'm never going to get out of here. I'm never going to be, and obviously there's so many different forms of depression, but I was a kind of a depressed person. And so, yeah, I think that through this journey of deciding that I really could become the person that I wanted to be, but it was just going to take me owning my shit
Yeah.
and not making excuses anymore. Like, oh, I hated that, to be honest. I hated that realization. I think everyone does when you're just like, dang it. Like, is the reason why my relationships, I mean, again, that's another big part of my story too, is that I was in like 4 relationships over 10 years that were all very intense, and they were long term, and they were, very serious.
Mm.
And I saw patterns, very clear patterns, and, had to take ownership of what I was seeing in myself. And then once you start taking ownership in little ways
Yeah.
and realizing like, oh, I'm actually codependent on other people to be in a certain way and to say certain things and to have a certain emotion in order to change how I feel. Like,
Mm.
I just realized I didn't know how to self-regulate.
Mm.
And I was making the excuse that, like, well, if only they would do this and if they could change this. And then at the end of the day, I just had to realize, like, no, girl, you're an adult. You gotta breathe. You gotta figure out how to, like, allow yourself to exist in a world where so much is out of your control,
Yeah.
and yet you're still making strides to being the person you want to be. You can make 1,000 excuses. You're just never going to get what you actually want. No one gets what they want by waiting for other people to, like, change their circumstances for them.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I would tell you 5 years ago, like, if you were to tell me all of this, I would, like, skip past that podcast and be like, I don't want to hear that. Give me something better. Give me something easier,
Hmm.
because it's odd. Yeah, it's a weird feeling when you're so used to blaming everyone else or finding comfort in that. It's just
Yeah.
really, it's tough. I don't know if
Oh,
I'm sure you've experienced
100%.
that
Yeah,
too.
I had therapy this morning at 11 a.m.
Oh,
So
fresh out of therapy.
fresh out of therapy, everything showered, you know what I mean?
Mm,
Um, and I love having people in my life that hold up a mirror to me to hold me accountable.
mm,
I used to hate it though, right? Because like exactly what you said, I think to be held accountable is the scariest thing ever.
it is.
Whether we do it for ourselves or someone else does it, because you're having to quite literally look in the mirror and be like, oh, these are my patterns. Wow, holy crap, what did I do? How did I do this? And why do I
Yeah.
continue to show up this way? And I had the exact almost the same realization today in therapy that you were talking about with your relationships.
Mm.
Um, of feeling so I finally have moved into a secure attachment, which is a wonderful thing. But thank you so much.
No, that's a big, big
It's
deal.
huge. Uh,
Yeah, that's
but I
amazing.
thank you. But I'm still triggered in my because I had disorganized, anxious, avoidant.
Mm.
I'm still triggered in some of those ways
Hmm.
where I had a hard time letting people fully connect to me and letting
Yeah.
myself be fully connected to someone else and actually receiving.
Yeah.
And I would get mad at people when I would try to provide for them or give to them and they couldn't receive. But really, truly, what was happening is there was a mirror happening. I'm
Mm.
getting mad at them because they're showing me where I'm not looking at myself. And that's
Mm.
the accountability like that I have been facing is a lot of more like people holding up a mirror to me in their behaviors. Like I got mad at my sister for something, and my therapist was like, "Well, why are you so hung up on how she's showing up?" And I go, well, I don't know. She's like, no, no, let's sit with this for a second. I was like, okay, fine. Come
Great.
to, yeah, come to realize actually, um, there was like one was a relationship, one was someone I dated
Mm.
where they had the capacity to help me co-regulate. I just wasn't willing to accept it. So
Mm.
I'd push back or I'd act out or I'd like do things to get them to show me that they wanted me, even if I was acting crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I had that accountability today too, but I've had it in like so many different ways in my life as well. Like, especially when it comes to identity, like, and on social media predominantly of there was a point in time where I just like after the mental health thing, I posted so many thirst traps. Good God. It was like,
We love a
it was,
ghost trip here and there.
every once in a while it's fun, but I was out of control. It was like it was, I mean, thirst trap central.
Mm,
It's like I went from doing something good to help people to the most toxic influencery thing ever to then
mm,
disappearing. But when that was happening, I kept getting frustrated with why aren't people taking me seriously?
mm,
Because that's how I was choosing to show up in my identity,
mm.
So I get,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, it's just like, it's crazy how and that's like the whole premise of pretty much anything and everything that I do in like my coaching or therapy is like your relationship with yourself dictates everything.
Yeah.
And it's actually such a kind of it's a difficult journey because it feels lonely,
Mm,
to have to own up to things and to not have someone there to regulate your emotions
yeah.
when you're the one in the wrong. And I think that what you were saying with the whole like I was acting crazy, I wanted him to show that he
Hmm.
was still, that is a way that we want to prove in a weird way. It's like we want to prove that we're not alone,
Yeah.
but we're like, okay, I'm going to be like, this is unhinged and I know this is just who I am, but can you show me that you'll still stay here?
Yeah.
And instead of realizing that, like, no, what you're looking for is actually a journey that you need to have with yourself to
Hmm.
prove to yourself that you'll still stay here
Yes.
while you are healing these ugly parts, these parts of you that feel so messy.
Mm,
And actually, when it comes to the external world, it isn't their job and
yes.
it's not their responsibility to be loyal to you when you are not being loyal to yourself.
Mm,
And it's so lonely to go on that journey alone, but you actually have to. It feels lonely, and then and then you learn it and then you're like, oh, okay, cool. Like, that was really hard. That was like hell,
I
but
love
I'm glad we did that, so now I can actually have healthier relationships.
God, I love it. You got so deep and like mentally I'm like, yep, that's the clip going up on social media. And then all of a sudden you go, but and then we're cute again and we figure it out and everything's
Oh my God.
I
This is
love it.
that's
No, I
the
love it. I
that's who I
like
am.
the duality of that. But it's good because like most people don't know how to like take the accountability, move through the work, and then go, okay,
Mm.
right, cool. Let's move forward, Like
That's so
like
funny.
we like to sit in the sad and like I related
Yeah.
to what you were saying with your siblings. It's so funny. I'm the oldest of three. I'm
Mm.
the eldest Indian
The
daughter.
eldest daughter. There you go.
And it's really and my sister's the middle child. She's a Scorpio.
Oh my God. Wow. Wow, so we're flipped.
Yeah. And then my brother, then we have I have a brother.
Okay.
He's 26 and he's a Leo. God help us.
Oh. Yeah, my dad's a Leo.
They're great, but boy,
They're great, but
but when they get mad, don't stick around.
it's hilarious.
Oh gosh. But no, because I relate to that too. How you felt like each one of you kind of showed up with like all these different emotions as like a default. So I'm sure
Mm.
like growing up, you kind of always had to combat that like melancholy feeling and the shame.
Hmm.
And I had the same thing, but with sadness. My sister
Mm.
has the shame, my brother has the anger, which is
Wow.
so when you
That's
were
so
saying that,
interesting.
I was like, oh, that's so wild. I love that you pointed
That's
that out
wild.
because that's exactly what all three of us have. And
Mm.
those are all the themes that we're actively trying to rework with it, like how we show up and how we take accountability, to be honest. And
Right.
so,
Right.
and he's in acting actually. So
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
yeah.
Leo. Yeah, I think it is so interesting having three, when you're in the sibling group of three.
Mm,
The dynamic is so interesting because, it's like you have this third party that's always kind of chiming in. And we love it now because it's like, when two of us are annoyed at,
Hmm.
the other one, we can like talk about it. And we, we all
Yeah.
we all just know that we talk shit every once in a while whenever we're mad. But
Yeah.
it's nice because then you can kind of like talk through things. But yeah, it is really interesting how we affect one another. And
Hmm.
especially growing up in households that, I don't know what yours was like, but like in general, Asian households are collectivist and we rely on each other and we help each other. And there are pros and cons, but it also means we greatly affect each other. And
Yes.
there's not the mentality of individuation and the
Yes.
expressed verbal, like let people have their emotions without it meaning something about you.
Hmm.
And so that was one thing I really had to learn later. Somehow my older sister just was born, walked out of the womb knowing that and being like, but for me, I was, I had this kind of codependency on people. And yeah, I can't describe it in any other way when you're healing codependency than lonely.
Yeah.
And it makes sense because the codependency is there because you're just like, please don't leave, please don't leave, please don't leave,
Mhm.
please accept me. I don't know what's going on. I'm crazy, but please, like,
Yes.
put up with me no matter what.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take responsibility for like, regulating myself
Yeah.
and like, taking accountability for what I said to you, which was so harsh and so, like without thinking, but please stay. And yeah, it just doesn't work that way,
No.
unfortunately,
I love
sadly.
the individuation is within Asian households is definitely something. Oh my
Mm.
gosh. Like with whatever time we have left, but like so that's something I have also been facing and dealing with, I would say. As and noticing. I think I started
Mm.
noticing it more the more work I did on myself mentally and emotionally, and I would see that same exactly what you're describing, right? Like you all are supposed to be a family unit. Like we
Yeah.
live together, we do everything together, and we're blood and we're here. My parents are also separated. And
Mm.
so, um, even still though, like they're friends, they still hang out during holidays, which I'm very grateful for.
Mm.
And the individuation and the having your emotions not always meaning something to affect someone else is huge.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and the individuation piece is definitely it's like a healthy thing that people need to do to like go. I even see it still now with my dad. Bless him. He's from the UK originally. He's also
Mm.
like a bit more westernized, kind of like same like your dad. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but he still has the mentality of family always stays together. You never leave. And I'm going,
Mm.
we got to start our own lives though, and that's okay. It's okay for us to do
Mm.
that. We'll still be close. We'll still be here,
Yeah.
but there's almost that fear and I've
Hmm.
noticed that also with like other friends as well in their communities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a generational thing as well, like when you think of, and I don't know, what your parents and their families, when they were growing up were like, but I really, whenever I think of my family and my life and my identity and everything, I try to think of it generationally
Yeah.
because when I look at my mom and my dad, even going back to the Philippines and India to
Mhm.
visit, I'm just like, wow, life is so different. And in America, we are so kind of sectioned off and independent, and we have our
Yes.
own lives. And I try to take the beautiful things from that, as
Mhm.
well as recognize that, like, I go back to the Philippines and literally, like, by the way, I have 41 first cousins on my Filipino
Whoa.
side. Yeah, so I have, and it's just the first cousins, not
Mhm.
even like their kids.
Second.
But like so many of the family members all grew up on the same street,
Mm.
like everyone was, there was no privacy. Like everyone
Yeah.
was constantly with each other. And the Indian side, yeah, like people don't hang out inside their huts or inside their houses. Everyone's outside because there's not much in there. So they're outside, they're in the community. Families are always together, like kids live with their parents until they get married.
Mhm.
And I think it's just I'm so glad that we're having conversations like this now because there are so many people that are, first generation born and raised here.
Yeah.
And you really are, it's a tug of war, and you're pulled between, different cultures. And you go to, I remember, in school, like
Mhm.
in those school years, I would go to school and it was one culture, and I'd go home and it was a
Yeah.
totally different culture. And it's just, it can be so confusing, and then it just continues in adulthood, because now we're still, living in this Western world where that's what I'm used to, that's what I grew up with.
Mhm.
And yet I, like, have family who, and even my siblings, they adopt different things from Indian and Filipino culture that are different than the things that I adopt, and so we
Yeah.
have clashing values, even within the siblings, because they
Yes.
adopted certain things. And it's just like, what is, and then on top of that, if there is a general sense of everyone needs to be the same
Mm.
and have the same values, and you'll be emotionally punished for having different values, then how much harder is that for you to develop your own identity
Yeah.
in yourself, and what you are allowed to feel and do and experience and choose without the shame and guilt.
Yes.
And so it's a fine line. And I think, therapy, as well as constantly giving yourself the permission to be figuring it out, like, till my last day here on earth. Like,
Yeah.
this is part of my identity, is actually the messy figuring it out, living between cultures. And if I can accept that and embrace that and try to see it in a lighter way,
Mm.
instead of this burden I have to bear. Because another thing that has shifted for me, on top of the taking accountability, is, like, I get to choose my reality,
Yeah.
and I get to be happy if I want. Like, I get to choose what I focus on, because what you focus on expands. And so I can focus on the ways in which this is unfair and it's very difficult and it's so hard. Or I can focus on the ways in which, like, yeah, I mean, I just have a beautiful mirage of different cultures,
Hmm.
and this is what comes with it.
Hmm.
But also, these are the beautiful things. And if I can lean into the beautiful things, then the other things won't feel like such a drag all
Yeah.
the time.
That was beautifully expressed. I love that so much. And I agree, like, wholeheartedly with all of that. There's like so much dichotomy to everything, and I think
Mm,
leaning into the duality instead of trying to pick and pull and just
yeah.
kind of stand still and like be the ultimate observer while you focus on what
Yes.
you need to focus on is exactly like what that's what I got from it is what we should do, right? It's like accepting the good and not allowing the other parts of you to shapeshift just to abide by culture or values, right? So, yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Love
thank you
that.
for saying that, like, being the ultimate observer,
Yeah.
because that is, like, that's when I think you are able to be more self-led,
Mm-hmm.
is when you can observe your life instead of being in the thick of it all the time. You can step back and observe your emotions, observe the shame and the guilt and where it's coming from. And do I
Yeah.
want that? And do I want to adopt that? And do I want that to really land? Or am I noticing that that might actually be, like, the way that I think of it is that everyone is walking around the world with this swirling energy
Mm.
of emotions and ideas about themselves that they're just, like, projecting into the world.
Yes.
And when we come in contact with someone, we come in contact with that energy swirl.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some people, when this is, where boundaries comes in, when you are so highly empathetic, and when you don't have the boundaries, everyone's energy, that it'll start flowing into yours and become part of you.
Mm-hmm.
But the more boundaries you have with yourself, the more you're able to observe, the stronger, kind of, that I just imagine, like, this shield,
Yes.
that when you come into someone's contact with someone's energy, like, they might be, all over the place here, but you just have this shield, and you can watch it, and you can decide, I think this is actually a little bit more about them than it
Mm.
is about me. And so, even though the words they're saying, the tone they're using, the look on their face, and everything should make me feel like a bad person,
Yeah.
I know who I am, and I'm just going to give this time because I think this is a little bit more about the grieving process they're going through that I didn't turn out the way they wanted.
Yes.
And I'm going to let them. They're only human as well, and they're experiencing human life for the first time. I'm just going to let them experience what they need to, and I'll be as gracious as I can and as loving as I can without being cold, but also really being grounded in who I know I am, even if it's a parent or a sibling that's insinuating something that should make me feel bad
Yeah.
about myself. Like, we do have the power to say, I don't accept that. And but also how you're feeling and how you're grieving is also valid.
Mhm.
And then in that way we can kind of hold the good energy that we want within us and not have to like bleed into everyone else's. And that's so
Yeah.
exhausting,
Oh my
really.
God. I love that. That's like it's like self-individuation, but like energetically,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
awesome. It's like you're able to hold space with lo unconditional love for someone else, but then also know where you stand, like with your own sovereignty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that we have these conversations because I think, I will say too, I'm so glad you're in the creative space
Thank you.
because, being someone that's like always trying to figure out and learn how to make content that can really translate and help people feel seen and heard and like
Mm.
help them. I think one thing is that I've been loving seeing more South Asian people on my
Yeah.
feed. I love seeing that. Of course, I know the algorithm also sends that to me, which I'm so happy about.
Do you
But
think it's racism as a part of the algorithm? Are they like, she's brown, we're gonna send her more brown people?
You know what? I don't mind because one of my reels got to what's her name? Deepika,
Oh my
the
God, that's
tinted.
awesome. I love
Yeah, she like commented and liked, and I was like, so I was like, I don't mind because we all got to stick together. Like we're all having a collective experience
hmm
that I think, yeah. So it is so funny because I'm just like, it's because I'm Indian, I know. But I love it, and I do think I don't know, like there's just little things that I've been noticing too. Obviously South Asian voices are continuing to be more amplified, and you're seeing more people on screen and all of that. But still, I mean, I'll go. At the end of last year, I want to go on like my Pinterest board and like create a Pinterest board for 2026. I was like, when I put in like brown people, it doesn't pop up with
No,
Indians. It's
no.
like,
It comes
or
up
people
with
that
every other race.
everyone else. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, that's fine. So
Mhm.
actually on my vision board, which I love my vision board this year.
Same.
Um, but yeah, I actually don't have a lot of Indian people on there. I love it because I love Black culture. So I'm like,
Yeah.
have a lot of amazing, powerful Black women. I have like Zoe Saldana because I
For
love her.
sure.
But yeah, so anyway, all of this to say, I'm just glad that there are people in the spaces because it's very specific, detailed types of things that we experience, and you just can't hear enough of it to like normalize it and to be like, yeah, you're not alone.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh my
we're
gosh,
all
yes.
together in this.
Yeah, especially in the creative space. There's not a lot of people with our race in that space. Bollywood's a whole different beast, but like
Right.
as far as far as like I want to say spirituality with creativity and with visual
Yeah.
arts, there's no one like that. And
Mm,
so bridging that gap has been interesting because like I see a lot of people in different cultures doing it, but like an example would be like in like Hispanic culture or like South American culture, they have a lot of other people to look up to for that, to be like, okay, yeah, I know how to show up in this space. And
yeah.
so the challenge for me was like, I don't really have anyone to like look to, which is
Hmm.
not necessarily a bad thing because
Sure.
I guess it makes me more unique, but also it's a little isolating and you're going, wait,
Yeah.
is what I'm doing weird? Am I completely whitewashed now? What have I done? Like, what's going on? You know, so like,
Oh
it's,
my
yeah,
goodness.
it's like,
I have that thought
yeah,
too.
yeah, I,
Sometimes I'm just like, I don't know how to, I want to, and I would love to have a conversation about this,
yes,
post after. But just in general, like I would love to infuse my Indian and Filipino culture more in everything I do in my whole
yes.
life, like in my content, in my podcast, in my aesthetics, in my, and any artsy area of my life. But like sometimes I'm just, yeah, it feels like, well, now is this, do I, am I like
Have I
being
abandoned all culture? What? Yeah.
right? Yeah. And then sometimes I'm like, oh, I love neutrals and
Mhm.
I love bland things.
It's
Like I just love
okay.
clean aesthetics. Am I being too white? And then I'm like, no, 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 but I am. I
Mhm.
have an inner white girl because I grew up in the Midwest and I can't deny her. She's in there. She will always be in there.
We gotta hang out. Oh Lord. Oh
I mean,
dear.
literally. So it's
Yeah.
just funny because I'm like, okay, but that's all, it's all part of what I always say is like, this is all part of what comes with being Ranella.
Mm.
Like pros and
Mhm.
cons of being Ranella, you know?
You should, yeah, it's all connected. Like we don't
Hmm.
need to choose, but yeah, like
Yeah,
100%. Like anytime, I mean, when I painted my walls black and I got like 6 tattoos, I was like,
I love it.
I got another one like 2 weeks ago.
I hear it's addicting.
A little. I have like at least 2 to 3 years between some of them, which is good.
I would love to get a tattoo. It's been on my list. I
I'll
just
go,
need to
listen,
do
I'll
it.
go with you. This
Yeah,
is, I'll take
I
you.
want to find something cultural, that,
I
you know.
have, so I grew up Sikh.
Uh-huh.
So I have a dragon on my back, but on the bottom I
Ooh,
have the kunda at the bottom, the Sikh symbol, just
oh,
kind of
that's so
interwoven. So I
cool. That
had
is
some,
awesome.
and then I have my grandfather's name in Punjabi on my ribs. So that's yeah.
And the cool thing is like it's a blank canvas. There
Hmm.
is no right or wrong answer. And I think
No.
that maybe is the next kind of iteration of this whole thing is that it's I think again we're social creatures, so we want to see the people that we can look up to.
Hmm.
And I do think sometimes the universe is calling us to be that person
Yeah.
that people look at and they have permission because they saw you do
Yeah.
something that was totally original and you were like, is this okay? And then they saw it and they were like, I'm going to do that. Like that's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, thank
So no, thank you so much for
you.
like providing this space, and I would love to like even post clips of this on my
Oh,
own
of course. I'll give you all
page and stuff because I love this
of
conversation.
them.
It's so great. It's so great to
Oh,
meet another twin.
oh, you're happy. Do you want to tell people where to find you on the
Sure.
internet? Hmm.
Yes, so on mainly Instagram, Life with Ranella, and then wherever you find your podcasts, I have a new podcast as of 7 weeks ago called The Life Edit with Ranella. So yeah, we got 7 out there, and it's just continuing to grow. I'm learning as I go, and we talk a lot about editing your life, especially after big life transitions and navigating identity and self worth.
Hmm.
So yeah.
I encourage you to follow, like, subscribe, and rate this so that it pushes it out to whoever else might need it. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you ever want to chat more about anything that this podcast is about, you know where to find me. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and good old TikTok. And be sure to stay tuned for my Tea Time with Sabi episodes.